Hello, bonjour, this is Jen. I just figured out how to put the cam on. Ok, bonjour, comment ça va? Ça va bien, j'espère. So I decided that I was going to do a live session today to help you out since I haven't posted any videos really over the past while. Sorry about that. So I thought I'd make up for it by doing a live session today, which is the 1st of April 2023, the first day of the oral exams this year. So if you're here, you're probably having your oral coming up in the next coming days, or maybe you're just watching the recording. But anyway, so the topics, as you know, they haven't changed. They're still the same, right? You want to be able to answer questions about your daily life, ma vie quotidienne, about where you live, your area, your town, your village, your region, and about l'avenir, the future. Right. So at this stage, really, I would focus on the delivery of your answers. There's no point really trying to learn new material. You know what you know, and you probably know more than you think. So it would be a good idea to, perfect what you already know how to say. Focus maybe on being confident. I know it's easier said than done. And the pronunciation as well, right? All of this counts, okay? So if you come up, instead of, answering questions, like a robot, just try and be yourself, try and be natural. That will show in your communication, which is 30% of your grade, and the pronunciation as well. You want to, if you haven't, check out my videos on that, things like pronouncing, the T or the S at the end. But anyway, so let's go back to our topics. And la vie quotidienne, your daily life. What's your daily life? Your daily life is obviously anything about yourself, your daily life in school, your hobbies, your pastime, things you like to do, things you do at the weekend, things you do, on the holidays even, your family, relationships, anything like that. Okay, so ma vie quotidienne, you can expect a typical question such as racontez-moi votre journée typique pendant la semaine. This is a good question, I think, because you have plenty to say. So of course, you're going to use the present tense, right? Please let me know if you have any questions, by the way, and I'll see if I can answer them. But so, par exemple, racontez-moi votre journée typique pendant la semaine. You're going to say something like, so le matin, je me lève, things that you do in the morning. So je prends mon petit déjeuner, je prends ma douche. You don't have to go into all the details, by the way, but have a clear picture of what you want to say. I think that helps. So, par exemple, je me lève à 7h30, je prends mon petit déjeuner, je prends une douche, je quitte la maison à, je vais à l'école, je vais au lycée. How do you commute? Je prends le bus, je vais à l'école en voiture avec ma mère, ou je vais à l'école à pied ou en vélo, je ne sais pas. Les cours commencent à, les cours finissent à. Qu'est-ce que vous faites pour la pause du déjeuner? What do you do for lunch? Pour le déjeuner, je vais à la cantine pour manger un sandwich que j'ai préparé moi-même. Or maybe you go out. Je vais au magasin avec mes amis pour acheter quelque chose à manger. So you have a lot of things to say. What do you do after school? Après les cours, qu'est-ce que vous faites? Je vais en études surveillées. If you go to study, je vais en études surveillées, to go to supervised study. or je rentre à la maison, je mange avec ma famille, je regarde la télé, je fais mes devoirs, j'étudie et je me couche vers 21h. Okay, that's a bit early. 22h, 10 o'clock. Okay, so anyway, have a clear idea of how to describe your day, and that's using the present tense. Now, of course, your daily life could be what you did last week. Qu'avez-vous fait le week-end dernier? You are going to be asked something in the past. Or qu'avez-vous fait l'été dernier? This is all part of your daily life. So make sure you know how to use le passé composé. Le week-end dernier, je suis sortie en ville. Je suis restée à la maison à étudier. Or le week-end prochain, qu'allez-vous faire le week-end prochain? That's part of your daily life as well as the future. Le week-end prochain, you need to know le futur simple and le futur proche to be able to answer those questions, right? Je vais, okay, le futur proche is always easy to remember. Je vais plus infinitive. Le week-end prochain, je vais sortir avec mes amis. Je vais rester à la maison pour étudier. Je vais visiter mes grands-parents. Okay, so that's your daily life. You can get something as simple as, besides, your pastimes, your hobbies. Now, remember, you can get different formulation of a question. So they might not just ask, quels sont vos passe-temps préférés? But qu'aimez-vous faire de votre temps libre? What do you like to do in your spare time? Or quelles sont vos passions? What are you passionate about? So these are your answer. You have your answer about what you like to do in your spare time. Je suis fanat de foot. J'aime la musique. Whatever it is that you like to do. I was going to say about la vie quotidienne. Yeah, you can get something as simple as aimez-vous faire la cuisine, par exemple? Okay, don't panic because it might be something you've never heard of. Oh, do I like to cook? Vous aimez faire la cuisine? It's a yes/no question. So oui, j'aime faire la cuisine, but try to expand. Okay, don't just say oui or non. Oui, j'aime faire la cuisine, and then what could you say about that? Mon plat, ma spécialité, ce sont les spaghettis bolognaises, par exemple. Oui, je fais la cuisine de temps en temps. Ou non, je ne fais pas la cuisine. Je n'ai pas le temps car je dois étudier en ce moment pour les examens du bac. Okay, this is an answer you can use for a lot of things. Pas en ce moment car je dois étudier pour les examens. Or I don't know. Non, je déteste faire la cuisine. Ma mère est une très bonne cuisinière. Remember, you can control the conversation. Ma mère est une très bonne cuisinière. C'est elle qui fait la cuisine à la maison. Right? Remember, there's no right or wrong answer. What matters is that you listen to the question. Don't jump to conclusion. So many times my students just are in a rush to answer something because they heard the word they recognize and the answer completely wrong. Right? So take a few seconds to hear the question and then, decide what you're going to answer. Yeah, so any questions about your daily life? So like I said, that could be about, your typical day during the week, school time. What do you do at the weekend? Same thing. Have it clear in your mind. If you're structured, then you'll be more prepared. And if you be more prepared, you'll be more confident. Le week-end, starting with le samedi. Le samedi matin, je fais la grasse matinée. Le samedi après-midi, j'étudie, je vais voir des amis, je sors en ville, je vais voir de la famille. Le dimanche, je reste à la maison. So know what you're doing le samedi, le dimanche. Remember, when something in general, you use le. So le week-end, la semaine, and the present tense. That is pour la vie quotidienne. Ensuite, the second topic that you want to cover is ma ville, ma région. Okay, so where you live. Again, so start with specific. Where do you live? What is there? How would you describe your village, your neighborhood? Décrivez-moi votre ville. Décrivez-moi votre village. Again, have it clear in your mind what you're going to say. Dans mon village, il y a quelques magasins, il y a des restaurants, il y a une école, 2 écoles, il y a un parc, il y a une aire de jeu pour les enfants. Describing physically, but then you also want to be able to say what there is to do. Qu'est-ce qu'il y a à faire dans votre ville? Qu'est-ce qu'il y a à voir? What is there to see? So, do you like your area? You can always enter that into the conversation. Oui, j'aime bien mon quartier. J'habite dans un quartier très sympa. Sympa works for places, okay, not just for people as well. So list what they are to do and to see. So, par exemple, votre ville, qu'est-ce qu'il y a à voir? Est-ce que ça attire beaucoup de touristes? Est-ce qu'il y a beaucoup de sites touristiques dans votre ville? What is your town known for example? Are there some specialties, some products that your town, your village, your region even is known for? Are there some events, les événements that happen every year, every summer? Okay, that's what you can talk about. Tous les ans, il y a le festival de la musique dans ma ville qui attire beaucoup de touristes, par exemple. So questions like that about where you live. Of course, you want to be able to say what there is to do, maybe for people your age. Il y a pas mal de choses. Pas mal means not bad, meaning there's quite a few. Il y a pas mal de choses à faire dans mon quartier, dans ma ville, or there is nothing to do. You live in the middle of nowhere. J'habite à la campagne. Il n'y a rien à faire. Il n'y a pas grand-chose à faire. What bullet points do you recommend including for la vie quotidienne? So, like I just said, your day, you want to have bullet points about your typical day, right? Is that what you're asking? Like I said, la vie quotidienne covers basically everything about yourself, your family, your hobbies, your pastimes, your daily life during the week, at the weekend, during the holidays, your relationships. So these are all things you would have covered anyway. So they're not going to ask you, oh, parlez-moi de votre vie quotidienne. It's going to be more specific than that. But going back to your area where you live, so know how to describe the facilities, but know what is your town known for. Je vous en prie. And maybe questions such as, you could get something like, est-ce qu'il y a des problèmes sociaux dans votre quartier? Okay, not just all the positive, but what can be done to improve your town? Maybe you have, I don't know, what sorts of problem. Maybe the roads could be improved. The traffic, les embouteillages. Est-ce qu'il y a de la délinquance? Is there crime in your area? Social problems. Okay, this is not, a big oral topic, but it could come up in the conversation, talking about your area where you live. What else could we have about where you live? The population, for example, the people. Are the people friendly? If you're talking about your neighborhood, is a good atmosphere with your neighbors? Vous vous entendez bien avec les voisins? Est-ce qu'il y a une communauté? That's all I can think. And, think the bigger picture, the region. So if you live in Galway, like I do, you'll talk about your village, about your town, but about the region, Connemara, what do people like to see and visit? What is the attraction? Les Français aiment visiter l'ouest de l'Irlande pour les paysages, pour voir la verdure, les moutons, par exemple. Il y a plein de choses à dire à ce sujet-là. Et enfin, le troisième sujet, c'est l'avenir, bien sûr. So, l'avenir is the future. So, the future can be next weekend. Qu'est-ce que vous allez faire le week-end prochain? It could be next summer. Qu'est-ce que vous allez faire cet été? You could get a question about comment allez-vous fêter la fin des examens? What are you going to celebrate the end of the exams? Maybe you have something planned. And of course, this is your chance to use le futur proche. Je vais faire un voyage avec mes amis. Je vais partir au Portugal pour quelques jours. But of course, l'avenir also is going to include what are you going to do next year? What are you planning to study? Or are you planning to travel? And then further in time, what career would you like to go into? Do you have any idea? Or even where do you see yourself in 5 years' time? Are you planning to have a family, for example? That's all part of the future. So that's your future. So you want to have, questions about that. But yes, mostly les études. Quelle étude voudriez-vous faire? So you could have a question in the conditional. In which case, you answer in the conditional as well. J'aimerais faire des études d'ingénieur. J'aimerais devenir architecte. I would like to. So le futur simple, yes, if you can use le futur simple, which is more like I will do. So see, in the conversation, you're more likely to use le futur proche, for things, even for things that are going to happen, next year. Je vais faire des études. Mais dans l'avenir, if you're certain about something and you've decided, I am going to be, I don't know, I'm going to be a rock star. Je serai une star. Je serai président. Or maybe you've decided you're going to be a strict parent. Je serai un parent sévère dans l'avenir. Okay. I'm just thinking of, instance for you to use le futur proche. Je serai, je ferai, j'aurai. Oh, maybe when I have a family, I will have 3 children. J'aurai 3 enfants. But if you're not comfortable with le futur simple, you can always say, I hope to, j'espère devenir, j'espère avoir. Kind of like le futur proche. Je vais devenir. Je vais avoir. Okay, so that's a type of question about the future. What else? So, quel métier aimeriez-vous faire? If you know, if you don't know, it's fine. It's perfectly fine to say, je ne sais pas encore. I don't know yet. Je n'ai pas décidé ce que je vais faire dans l'avenir. You could get a question such as, aimeriez-vous voyager à l'étranger? Would you like to travel abroad? Aimeriez-vous étudier à l'étranger? Again, don't just say oui ou non. Oui, and then try to think of something that you can say on that topic. And not likely, but you could get a question about the future, not your future, but the future of the planet. Maybe that's something you've covered when you talk about the environment. Êtes-vous inquiet pour le futur de la planète? Do you have something to say about that? Avez-vous peur pour l'avenir de la planète? Review your notes about the environment. Oui, je suis inquiet pour les générations à venir, par exemple. C'est un sujet qui m'inquiète. Of course, you can use the conditional without being asked. Anything you know how to use, the conditional, the subjunctive, use it. The conditional is used a lot in conversation. You know, even if they ask, oh, you know, what are you doing this summer? J'aimerais, I would like to do. J'aimerais trouver du travail au bord de la mer, par exemple. That's the conditional. J'aimerais, je voudrais. Le subjonctif, if you learn, you know, maybe an expression or two using the subjunctive, that's always impressive. The if question, people asking me, you know, is the if question going to come up? Well, it could, you know, it could come up. It could be part of the future. It could be part of your daily life. It could be part of where you live. So the if question is using the conditional and the imparfait. I don't know, for example, okay, the typical one, que feriez-vous si vous gagnez au loto? Si je gagnais, imparfait au loto, j'achèterais, conditionnel. J'achèterais une maison. Je partirais en voyage. So yes, good idea to know the conditional. What else? Oh yeah, try to vary your answer, not always saying je. If you're talking about, oh, good luck with the Japanese, gambatte. Très bien. Good to see a variety of languages being studied. I was going to say, oh yeah, so je vais, you know, what are you going to do? But if you're going, sometimes it's not just you, it's you and your friends. So instead of je vais sortir, so yeah, oui, je vais sortir ce week-end. Mes amis et moi allons en boîte. Allons voir un concert. Nous allons. Or you and your family. Je vais en Espagne cet été. Nous allons visiter, you know, telle ou telle région. Instead of always repeating je. So this way you show that you can use the new form. What else? Don't be afraid to use the casual we, on. Okay, that works really well in conversation because on is easier to conjugate, right? On va. Mes amis et moi, on va, I don't know, on va voir un concert à Dublin. What else? I think that's about it, really. I mean, remember, this is a 10, 12 minutes conversation. It's going to fly. So do take your time. Don't rush. Take time to formulate your answers and try to be yourself. Okay, don't be answering like a robot. You know, you're just having a chat with someone who's trying to get to know you. So, you know, for example, instead of saying, je m'appelle Paul, j'habite à Galway, j'aime le foot, you want to sound a bit more like, je m'appelle Paul, j'ai 18 ans, j'habite à Galway, j'adore le foot. You know, try to put it on a little bit, even if you have to. Is it hard to fill up the time? Won't be able to talk. It's not even 15 minutes, you know, it's 10, 12 minutes max. If you're bringing a document that's, you know, a good 5 minutes, I would say, covered. Look, I've been talking now for, I don't know, you know, 20 minutes already. So 12 minutes is nothing. And, you know, it's not for you to fill up the time. They ask you a question, you answer as much as you can, but then if you're done, you're done. You know, just end it and wait for the next question. Because I see my students a lot of time, they're in a panic and they're trying to come up with something and they make them make mistakes and sound like they don't know. You know, if you've answered, it could be, okay, sometimes it could be a short answer with confidence, and then wait for the next question. You're going to get, I don't know, maximum 5 questions. Pause. That's hard to answer, but you know, you can pause for a few seconds. You know, if they see that you're going to come up with something, they're going to give you a chance. The examiner is always working in your favor, so they're going to encourage you then, you know, if you see you're stuck, then they'll ask you another question. So yeah, take your time. Don't rush. Have fun. Okay, so I don't know. I hope I answered most of your questions. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Now's your chance. You can always leave a comment if your exam is coming up in the next few days. But really, that's it. I would say, you know, really concentrate on talking about yourself, because, you know, obviously that's going to be the first question, you know, comment vous appelez-vous? So if you're confident about talking about yourself, describing yourself, your family, what you like, then you're going to start with confidence. You know, the rest is going to follow. What's the best way to work on pronunciation? Yes, so pronunciation, like I said, is not, you don't need to sound fluent, right? Of course, you're not expected to sound like a French person. But what is important is that you don't pronounce things that you're not supposed to pronounce. I have a series of videos on my YouTube channel that helps you with that. But as a mistake I see all the time, my students do, like, even though I keep correcting them, vous aimez? Oui, j'aime. Vous regardez? Oui, je regarde. And not je regardais. The E is silent. So yeah, that's a mistake students make a lot. So make sure you know the difference between the present, je regarde, you pronounce je regarde, and the past, j'ai regardé. So make sure you say j'ai regardé, I've watched. Because then a lot of students go je regardais, and it's kind of in between the two, you know, because they're not sure. So that's going to be count as a mistake if you meant to say je regarde. Things like that, you know, don't pronounce the S at the end. Dans, not dans, par exemple. Anything else I can answer? So pronunciation is 20%, so it's not to be ignored. Communication, 30%. Vocab. So yeah, try to use, you know, words that, you know, you don't want to sound like everybody else. So if you know words, expressions that you like to use, and the structure, communication, structures, grammar, okay, so know how to conjugate your verbs in the first person and in the new person, okay. Je vais, nous allons. Je suis, nous sommes. J'ai, nous avons. Well, as far as I know, the oral is still worth 25% at higher level. Okay, don't quote me on that, by the way. Don't quote me on anything. I can only share what I know, but as far as I know, it's 20% of the whole thing, which is a good chunk, really, if you look at it. You know, for a 10-minute conversation, the oral usually bring your final grade up rather than down. I usually recommend that, you know, you do bring a document if you have the chance to, but if you haven't prepared one at this stage, then, you know, don't worry about it. Just concentrate on your conversation. Donc voilà, j'espère que vous avez trouvé cela utile. I hope I have answered most of your questions. Yeah, things, okay, so things you want to, understanding the question is important. So, quel métier aimeriez-vous faire? What profession, what job would you like to do in the future? Métier is job, profession, career, not to confuse with matière. Okay, so it's easy to make that mistake. Matière is a subject. Métier is profession. Another one people get confused is les études. So faire des études. Faire des études dans l'avenir. So j'aimerais faire des études d'architecte. What would you like to study next year? J'aimerais faire des études d'ingénieur, des études de droit. But also you have the verb étudier. So le week-end, j'étudie. The present tense of étudier is étudie. J'étudie. So in that case, you use the verb étudier. You don't say faire des études. Okay, so faire des études is on the long term. What else? Aller à la fac, aller à l'université, to go to college and not au collège. La fac is short for faculté, which is the word for college. Quoi d'autre? Avez-vous des projets pour l'été prochain? Avez-vous des projets pour le week-end prochain? So the projets are plans. What are your plans? Okay, it's not a specific project. So what are your plans for next summer? So yes, the future, what are you going to do at the end of the school term? What are you going to do to celebrate? Are you planning to travel? How are you going to spend the summer? Are you going to look for a job? Vous allez chercher un petit boulot. Then the future for next year, vous allez faire des études, vous allez voyager. Et le futur lointain, j'espère. J'espère devenir ingénieur. Or, if you don't know, it's always fine to say, je ne sais pas encore. Je n'ai pas réfléchi. When do examiners usually go through your document? Okay, that's a good question. So you'll have your document with you, so it's visible. They'll see that you have a document, so they'll have to ask you about it. So they're not going to go straight with the document. I don't think, they're going to ask you, bonjour, comment vous appelez-vous, blah, blah, blah. And then they might see the document and say, oh, vous avez apporté un document. Or you might want to bring up the document. Maybe your document is about an activity, a passion of yours, and that enters into conversation. They ask, oh, qu'est-ce que vous aimez faire de votre temps libre? Ma passion, c'est l'équitation. And then it's like, comme vous le voyez, j'ai apporté un document sur ce sujet. So, yes, it's okay for you to bring it up, because sometimes they might even forget about it and you won't even get a chance to say everything you want about your document, which you have prepared. So, yeah. Ok, voilà. Vous avez d'autres questions? On dirait pas. Okay, so I'm just going to say bonne chance avec l'examen oral, pour votre examen oral et pour le reste des examens aussi. I'm going to ask you. Okay, so like I said, I think it's a good idea to have a document, but it's something you would want to have prepared in advance. Okay, so if you don't have one at this stage and your oral is coming up in the next few days, forget about it. Focus on what you already know how to say, talking about yourself, your hobbies, your family life, where you live, and things you're going to do in the future. Maybe perfect your delivery. Your pronunciation. Forget about the document at this stage. But yeah, the document is a good idea to do if you have it prepared. I was going to say, so if you are taking your exams over the next few days, please, it's the hardest question you think you can get. I don't know. It's, the hardest question is the one you don't know the answer to. but they're not, that's a good thing about these 3 topics, they're not going to ask complicated questions that they used to ask, about, abstract questions about, I don't know, the economy or, even about the pandemic. They're not going to ask questions like that, unless it comes into the conversation and you bring it up. And remember, you can control the conversation. There's something that you're not comfortable with, you can change the topic to something else. If they ask you, I don't know, about politics and you're not interested, you can say, la politique ne m'intéresse pas. Je préfère blah, blah, blah. Parler des, I don't know, whatever it is you're interested in. We've done that. The daily routine, go back to the beginning of this recording. We talk about your daily routine. You use the present tense and you use le, la, for talking about things in general. Le matin, je me réveille à 7 heures. Le soir, je regarde la télévision. Le week-end, je sors avec mes amis. France, I doubt it. Unless, again, it comes up in the conversation. I mean, it'd be good to know the word in case, la grève, les manifestations, so you recognize it, but they're not going to, out of the blue, ask you about the strike in France. I mean, they can ask you about, have you ever been to France? And what did you like about it? Do I just say quand je? If I want to say when I, yeah, I don't know exactly what you're talking about, but yeah, that makes sense. I don't know. Quand j'étudie, j'aime écouter de la musique. That makes sense. Okay, any other questions before I go? No? So please let me know how you got on. If you get a chance, come back and leave me a comment. Was there anything unexpected that came up? Were you able to answer it? Anything, any feedback. any feedback is welcome. I'm always very curious, and it's good for other people as well. So I'm going to say again, bonne chance pour l'examen oral. Have fun with it. And will they ask about strike in will they ask about strike in France? No, they won't. I doubt that they will ask about the strike in France. I mean, not in the oral. I mean, the oral is about your daily life, about where you live, unless there's strikes in where you live at the moment, I don't know, about the future. So, I mean, they're not going to ask about that unless, you talk about something related to that into the conversation. But it's good to know the words strike, faire la grève. French people love to be on strike. Maybe that would come in handy for your written question, your opinion question. Maybe there'll be something to say about that. Okay, guys, I'm going to go, so I'm going to say bonne chance et à bientôt. I won't keep it so long until I post a new video. And au revoir et à la prochaine.